My boss had never summoned me to his office without warning, and I'd never seen him look afraid. That morning, though, he locked the door behind me and pressed a sealed envelope into my hand with panic in his eyes. He leaned close enough that I could feel his breath and whispered, "Don't open this here. Go home. Pack a bag. Take your daughter. You have 24 hours." Then he turned away as if any more words would break him. I stood frozen, clutching the envelope, unsure whether this was some cruel joke. But his voice trembled. This was real. Something had happened that put my life at risk, and the man who barely seemed to notice me was suddenly trying to save me. Before I tell you what was inside the envelope, please subscribe and tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Once you hear what happened next, you might question who you trust. My name is Natalie Reyes. I'm 29, a single mother living in a small South Side. She's 7, bright, imaginative, always drawing pictures of the two of us holding hands. She's my world. She's the reason I get up and keep going. Ava's father left when she was a baby, saying he wasn't ready to be a parent. Since then, I've juggled 3 jobs, night shifts, and exhaustion just to keep a roof over our heads. Things finally steadied when I got a full-time administrative coordinator role at Stratton Financial Group in downtown Chicago. The work was demanding, and my boss, Rowan Blake, had a reputation for being cold and exacting. I didn't mind. It paid enough for Dava to go to a good school, and I was proud to have earned it. That morning began like any other. I woke before dawn, braided Ava's hair, and slipped a note into her lunchbox. She asked if we'd get pancakes that weekend. I promised we would. On the train into the city, people were half asleep, scrolling phones and drinking coffee. I looked at the skyline and thought maybe things were finally settling down. That thought would be the last peaceful one I had for a while. When I got to the office, it felt wrong, too quiet. The reception area was usually noisy, but that day everyone spoke softly. I noticed 2 men in suits by the executive elevators who I didn't recognize, watching people go by. I tried to ignore it and went to my desk, assuming it was nothing. Then at 9:14 a.m., my phone rang. It was Rowan's assistant, her voice tight. "Natalie, Mr. Blake wants to see you immediately." The call cut off before I could ask why. My chest tightened as I walked the long hallway to his office, thinking maybe it was about reports or an audit. I hadn't done anything wrong. When I entered, Rowan was by the window with his back to me, shoulders rigid. He didn't greet me at first. When he finally turned, I saw fear. "Close the door, Natalie," he said. He took a sealed envelope from his desk and pushed it across the table to me. My name was written on it in bold black ink. "Whatever happens today, don't panic, but you must do exactly as I say." In that instant, I understood this wasn't about work. It was about staying alive. I left the building holding the envelope, numb. The cold air did nothing to clear my confusion. Rowan, the man known for never showing emotion, had been terrified when he handed it to me. His words repeated in my head, "Go home. Pack a bag. You have 24 hours. I didn't know if we were being targeted or what the threat was, but if Ava was involved, I couldn't hesitate. At the apartment, I locked the door and stood in the living room, heart racing, as I slid a finger under the seal and opened the envelope. Inside were 3 items. A one-way plane ticket to Durango, Colorado, for a 7:45 p.m. flight that night. A prepaid phone, with one contact labeled "Call Only This," and a photograph of Ava outside her school, taken that same morning. Someone had been watching her. There was also a handwritten note, the ink smudged as if written quickly. "They know what you saw. Do exactly as instructed. If you remain in Chicago after midnight, they will come for you and Ava. Trust no one. You are being watched." The phone dropped from my hand, and my legs went weak. I tried to remember if I'd seen anything suspicious at work. I'd been handling transfer documents, spreadsheets, and client accounts. Nothing I'd consider dangerous. But if Ava was the target, I couldn't waste time. I rushed to her school, keeping my head down and scanning passing cars. Inside, Ava was coloring with classmates, oblivious. Seeing her calmed me briefly. I signed her out and told her we were going on a surprise trip. She squealed, thinking of ice cream. I forced a smile. On the drive home, I noticed a black SUV in my mirror. It stayed several cars back, but notched every lane change. My pulse quickened. I took a different exit and looped back. The SUV reappeared. ... When we reached the apartment, I moved fast. I told Ava to tack a few favorite things, and she grabbed clothes and stuffed animals, excited for the adventure. I packed essentials, documents, cash, and the envelope. The prepaid phone seemed to pulse with urgency. When I turned it on, a message flashed. "Do not call until you reach the airport." Just then, my regular phone buzzed from an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A calm female voice warned, "They are outside your building. Do not open the curtains. Leave through the back entrance. Take only one bag each. Say nothing. If you want your daughter safe, follow instructions." The call dropped before I could ask who she was. I steadied myself. This wasn't paranoia. It was targeted. I told Ava we were going out the back door for a surprise. She giggled, thinking it was a game. We moved quietly down the stairwell. Every creak made my heart jump. The back exit led to an alley and a side street where my car was parked. As I buckled Ava in the back seat, I heard a man's voice above us over a radio. "Target has moved. They have the child." Fear surged, but so did resolve. If Rowan risked himself to warn me, I couldn't afford doubt. I started the engine and drove us out calmly. I had no idea who the prepaid phone's contact might be or what awaited in Colorado. Only that someone protected us and someone else was hunting us. The transfer documents I handled must be the reason. Whatever it was bigger than a spreadsheet. It was personal and dangerous. On the plane, I finally exhaled. Not because I felt safe, but because there was no turning back. Chicago receded beneath the clouds, and Ava slept with her head on my arm, unaware that our lives had been uprooted. My mind replayed everything. Rowan's fear, the photo of Ava, the voice that said our building was surrounded. Whatever was happening extended beyond the office. It was larger and deadlier than I'd imagined. We landed in Durango into crisp mountain air. The airport was small and slow-paced, almost peaceful compared to Chicago. I turned on the prepaid phone and called the single number. A man's voice answered after one ring. "Leave the airport immediately. A black pickup will pull up. Get in. Do not speak until I tell you to." Then he hung up. A black pickup arrived at the curb within seconds. The driver, a rugged man in his late 40s with hard eyes, rolled down his window. "Natalie Reyes," he said. "Get in." His tone was firm, but not unkind. He didn't hide behind sunglasses. His hands were steady and his eyes alert. I buckled Ava into the back seat and got in. "My name's Daniel Cross," he said as we drove. "Your boss, Rowan Blake, was my partner on a federal task force. 3 years ago, we found a network using private financial firms like Stratton to launder money for international crime syndicates. When Rowan tried to expose it, they found out. They killed his wife. They've been after him since." I stared. "Why me? I'm just an employee," I said. Daniel looked at me directly. 2 days ago, you processed a transfer for a dormant account. When you flagged an irregularity, you uncovered the account they used to hide millions. They saw the log. They know you accessed it. That makes you a loose end. I remembered. An inactive account suddenly received a $20 million transfer from overseas. I had asked for clarification and was told to approve it and say nothing. I never thought a single click would endanger us. Daniel continued. "Rowan knew you were watched. He also knew that if he acted openly, they'd eliminate you and your daughter. So he used himself as a diversion to buy you time." His words landed hard. A man I thought barely noticed me had risked everything. The truck climbed into the mountains and pulled up to a secluded cabin among pine trees, smoke curling from the chimney. It looked isolated, a safe house. Daniel turned to me. "You have 2 choices. Disappear with your daughter through federal witness protection, change your identity, and never look back. Or stand with us, help expose this network so they can't hurt other families. But know the cost. If you fight, your old life is gone." I glanced at Ava in the rearview mirror. She hugged her backpack, eyes wide. In seconds, I would make a choice that would decide our future. Fear raced through me, but so did resolve. I realized I hadn't been chosen by accident. I was in a position to bring their operation down. "I'm not running," I said. "I'm not leaving other families to suffer. Tell me what to do." Daniel nodded, as if he'd expected that. Everything shifted. I stopped being a target fleeing for safety and became a mother preparing to fight. Daniel led us into the cabin. As the door closed behind us, the tension felt different. This place wasn't just shelter, it was a command center. Maps covered the walls with red markers circling major cities. A wide wooden table was stacked with files, USB drives, and documents. A laptop sat in the center with military-grade encryption gear attached. Everything in the room made one thing clear. This wasn't a hideout. It was an operations base. Daniel gestured to a chair. "Sit. There's something you need to see." I sat and gripped the table edge while he inserted a flash drive. A video filled the screen. My breath caught. It was Rowan Blake. His hair was messy and a bruise marked his face. He spoke straight to the camera, urgent but composed. "If you're watching this, Natalie, they found me, not you. Daniel got to you in time." He swallowed. "I never told you why I hired you. It wasn't your resume. It was your integrity. Someone who does the right thing even when no one's watching. 2 days ago, when you questioned the $20 million transfer, you confirmed what I suspected. You saw the account, you saw the name. Now they'll stop at nothing to silence you." My pulse sped up. What name? I thought of only numbers on a document. Rowan must have read me, because he said it plainly. "The account belongs to Senator Victor Harland." When he said the name, everything clicked. Harland was not a minor player. He was a powerful public figure, often on TV pushing economic reforms. That context made the donor lists and shadowy transactions look far worse. Rowan's voice dropped. "Harland has been laundering billions through private firms to fund international criminal networks. He's behind the deaths, the threats, the disappearances. And now, Natalie, you have proof that could dismantle his empire." I stared at the screen. This was beyond corporate fraud. It was systemic corruption on a massive scale. Rowan continued. "The files you processed are critical. You've unknowingly activated the final link in the chain. Daniel has the rest. Together you can map every transaction, shell company, and offshore account. Once released, Harland will have nowhere to hide." A sudden crash came from outside the cabin. Daniel grabbed a gun and motioned for us to get down. Windows shook. Ava screamed from a blanket in the corner. I scooped her up and pressed down as Daniel warned. "They found us. Stay low." Gunfire rang out. Daniel returned fire through a reinforced window. 2 attackers went down, but more advanced, helmeted men closed in. These were trained operatives, not common criminals. The back door was forced open. Daniel ordered, "Go to the cellar now," and covered us as I ran to a trapdoor and climbed down. He yelled, "Natalie, go. I'll hold them off." I left unwillingly, pulled into a small, cold bunker below. Ava buried her face in my shoulder, while above us the cabin shook. After a sequence of shots, silence fell, broken by a loud explosion. Dust rained down. Then the bunker's emergency phone rang. I answered with shaking hands. The voice on the line was strained, but unmistakable. "Rowan, you did well, Natalie," he said. "But this is only the beginning. They attacked because we're close. Everything you need is in that bunker. The final piece is in your hands." My heart pounded. Rowan was alive and still fighting. "You have 2 hours before they regroup," he warned. "You must choose. Hide forever, or step into the light and finish this." Holding Ava in the dark, with the world collapsing above us, I understood the choice. I was no longer running. I was moving toward the truth. I would see this through, whatever it cost. The bunker was quiet except for the generator and my heartbeat. 2 hours, that was all the time to decide. I walked deeper into the space. A metal desk held files, USBs and documents stamped with government seals. Each was labeled and linked. Senator Victor Harland, a network of high-ranking officials, offshore accounts, and covert operations tied to deaths and disappearances. Victims included whistleblowers and family members eliminated for getting too close. Daniel climbed down the ladder, blood on his sleeve but steady. "They pulled back for now," he said. "They think the explosion took us out. We have a window, but not a big one." I met his gaze. "I'm not running anymore," I said. He placed a secure satellite laptop before me and connected Rowan's master file. The system booted and an alert appeared. "Press enter to begin full global data release." This wasn't a simple upload. It would mirror files to major news outlets, federal databases, and international courts in real time. Once started, it couldn't be stopped. Names, transactions, recordings, everything would be exposed. With Ava watching quietly, I pressed the key. Status bars filled, FBI connected, Interpol connected, Reuters, CNN, BBC connected. The buried truth began racing across the world. Tears came to my eyes, not from fear, but from release. The network hiding behind wealth and influence could no longer disappear. As the upload finished, the emergency phone rang again. Rowan's voice came through, weaker but peaceful. "You did it, Natalie. I couldn't finish this, but you did. Protect your daughter. Live freely. You were chosen not for what you knew, but for who you are." Then the line went dead. Within hours, news alerts exploded. Federal agents arrested high-ranking officials. Senator Harland was detained as he tried to flee. Protests began, investigations opened worldwide, and government agencies were forced to act. It became one of the largest political takedowns in recent history. There was a cost. Daniel helped relocate us temporarily, and security was put in place. The government offered witness protection, new identities, and a new life as we wanted it. For the first time in months, I slept without constant fear. Ava slept beside me, clutching her stuffed toy, unaware of the role her mother had played in exposing a global conspiracy. Weeks later, watching the sun rise over the mountain horizon, Ava climbed into my lap and asked, "Mom, are the bad people gone now?" I held her and answered, "They're gone, and they won't hurt us again." In that moment, I understood. This wasn't a story about running. It was about choosing to face fear, to stand up when hiding would have been easier. It was about an ordinary person refusing to be silenced. Not everyone will be called to expose corruption on this scale, but everyone faces moments where they must choose between fear and courage, silence and truth. When that moment comes, I hope this story serves as proof of what one person can do when they refuse to break. My name is Natalie Reyes. I wasn't a hero. I was a mother who loved her child, and that love made me act. If this story moved you, subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, because the next story might be happening in your city, your workplace, or your life.